Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be creating some Toy Story 1 and 2 Townies, although this probably could just encompass generally all Toy Story movie Townies. Essentially, I was trying to decide what Toy Story characters do we want to include in Evergreen Harbor. We did a lot of Toy Story in Evergreen Harbor, so obviously it makes a lot of sense to maybe pick out some of those side toy characters that didn't make it into any of the residentials and put them in the general population of Evergreen Harbor. So I do want to say that it's pretty important to note that when it comes to making Townies, I create them originally to just be like a general Townie for whatever world. So in this case, we have Evergreen Harbor. However, they could always be moved later on. So if I feel like a character is going to be an important part to put somewhere else, or if I come up with like a really cool residential, or I feel like they fit somewhere else, it kind of just depends on what we actually get as far as The Sims goes, what other worlds get added, what other changes I decide to make to the save. And I guess you could extend that in general to pretty much anything with the save file. It is always subject to change and subject to be moving at some point later in the save, which I do try to remind you guys that just in case, because it hasn't really happened up until this point. But this Create a Sim is a really good example of a character that might become a more important character later on. So the first character we're actually making is Zerg, and he is a really difficult character to translate over into The Sims. There literally just isn't really anything too close to his outfit or his costume. However, he's a villain character. He has the one line from Toy Story 2 where he mentions that he is Buzz's father, so I am going to make him Buzz's father in my version of the save file, and he's sort of just like an evil villain Darth Vader-esque character. His costume was obviously a little bit difficult. That's actually the unlocked DJ helmet that I decided would probably work best for his outfit, and is really the only option when it comes to creating him and making something a little bit more interesting. And you'll notice that I actually started out with Buzz and used the genetics there to create a father type figure that looks somewhat like him. So if he doesn't have the helmet on, he does look a lot like Buzz. He has red eyes though, and a little bit of like scarring, and he's a little bit older obviously. And that is Zerg, but he might get moved at a later point in time. I would really love to create a residential for him. I think I could do something really cool and sciencey and kind of colorful. And I just love Buzz Lightyear and his lore in general, and like a lot of the characters from the Buzz Lightyear animated movie. That was one of my favorites growing up. So I could definitely see creating some of those characters and maybe doing something with like that type of a storyline later on. But really, we don't have like a world that I feel like I could fit him in super well. So I'm kind of hoping for some kind of like a truly space world, not a Star Wars world, an actual like planet type of world or a futuristic pack or something like that. So we will see when it comes to that. Next, we have RC. So RC was a recommendation from one of my patrons, and I think he would have been skipped otherwise. So I'm really, really excited that he was mentioned, because I think that it was just such a fun character to create. He is shown in the first movie as being one of Woody's really close friends, and he has some later scenes in the movie that help him save kind of Woody and Buzz from Sid's whole situation and the moving van situation. He just comes across as like a really kind, kind of quirky individual, and I think it would obviously be so fun if he was actually a race car driver when it comes to his version in The Sims 4. So there isn't, I don't think there's a race car driver career, but if it got added, I would definitely love to give that to him, because I think that would be such a cool little tie-in. As far as his design goes, he does have like two eyes strapped on the front of the race car, and they're kind of framed in this blue paint, and they kind of look like big googly eyes, like they're kind of glued onto the body of the race car. So I thought it would be cool to do these big chunky blue rimmed glasses. And then the car itself is like a bright lime green with various colored blue flames going all up and down him. So I was kind of playing with a lot of options for the outfit, but I knew I wanted to make sure I got the blues, the greens, and then I also really wanted something that I felt like could easily be like a race car driver outfit, like either a suit itself for a driver, which I did kind of look through the catalog and see if we had an actual suit, and I couldn't find one. We might have one and I missed it, but I really couldn't find one. And instead, I was really just thinking about like what does a driver typically wear underneath their suit, and what type of things would you see in replacement of like a traditional suit. And something that a lot of you probably don't know about me is that I actually used to help on multiple pit crews for short track racing for like my area that I live for years and years and years. It was only up until like this past year that I haven't really. And with everything that's going on in the world right now, obviously that kind of stuff isn't happening too much. It's not something that I'm currently doing. However, I'm very familiar with racing and the track and attire and what drivers would typically wear underneath their suit. And it does depend on the driver very much, like how comfortable you're going to be, especially with my ladies. I've seen girls wear literally like a sports bra and nothing underneath the suit because it's just more comfortable that way. So it all kind of depends. But I felt like that outfit there was just very good for carrying the overall vibes of like the race car driver, and then also we get to carry over the colors. And the blue curly hair really reminded me of the Flames on RC, so I felt like that was a really cool tie-in. Moving on, we have Trixie, and Trixie I believe is one of Bonnie's toys, so this is technically a Toy Story 3 character. So I haven't seen Toy Story 3 in a really long time. I didn't even really remember Trixie's character. I only remember that she's obviously a dinosaur toy. And in my head, I'm like, okay, well, she would be a really good romantic interest for Rex. But I think I've been told that they're not actually interested in each other romantically. However, I decided that it would be fine. You know, you guys can do literally whatever you want to. If you want to download the save and use her as a romantic interest for Rex, it could be a cute little idea. But basically, I just wanted to take the dinosaur toy and create something as similar as possible in a Sims version. So she's based after a Triceratops, and to me, that sort of translated to a shorter hairstyle, maybe something a little bit wider, and kind of mimicking that back panel that Triceratops have. Also, in her individual toy design, she has very small eyes. They're very, very close together. And then there's the bridge that kind of goes over the eyes as like an eyebrow bone that isn't technically an eyebrow bone. So I was just trying to bring a lot of those over into like a physical design. We get to use a lot of interesting hair with this Create a Sim. I always love a good opportunity to use like a fashion color. And for both RC and Trixie, we were able to use the lighter blue variation, which is really, really fun. So far, I haven't had too many opportunities to use the super light or super fun colors. A lot of the like regular Disney characters tend to have very traditional hair colors. It'll be later on when we get into some of the other various characters that I feel like we'll be able to get more color variation as far as that stuff goes, but it's always exciting to get to use something a little bit new and different. And just in general for Townies videos, I feel like I can get away with a lot more. Like, I'm not too worried about their backstory particularly. I'm not too worried about like how close do they actually resemble every single individual aspect of the character, because these are more of like your side characters that I just feel like creatively I have more leeway with when it comes to basically just doing what I want to do with the character. So Trixie in Toy Story, she's more shown as like a very similar to Rex in the fact that she likes video games and she is a little bit kind of erratic. She's a little paranoid. So she's just an interesting character to like bring into The Sims, and I feel like something that we haven't had so far as my save file goes. I ended up giving her this like fully jean outfit, which is something that I just think is so kind of unique for her character and really, really fun. And then she's got the pops of like the plaid underneath. And if you remember when I created Rex, I put him in a lot of like green checkered plaid. So it's kind of a throwback to his character as well with the pops of plaid, but in the colors that make sense for Trixie this time around. Lastly, we have Tour Guide Barbie, who was so highly requested by so many of you when I asked what townie do you want to see for Evergreen Harbor. Every other answer was Tour Guide Barbie. And again, that's just one that I would have never picked, but I'm really, really glad that you guys mentioned it so much, because I kind of came up with this lore for the Disney save that Barbies are going to function a little bit like how Officer Jenny's and Nurse Joy's work in Pokemon, that there's a ton of them, they're all over the place, they're all identical, and I believe in Pokemon they are all sisters. I'm not sure about that one, but In this version of the Disney Save, I'm not going to say that they're all sisters, but I really like the idea that you've got a lot of them all over the place, and it really plays into the storyline of Toy Story as well, where there are a lot of different Barbies that get shown in the few movies, and they all sort of have different roles and jobs. So in this example, we have Tour Guide Barbie, which is the one that they meet in Toy Story 2 inside of Al's Toy Barn. She's very polished, professional, perfectionist, neat, clean, overly like smiley, and just obviously making sure that everybody is super safe and happy. And she kind of gives them a tour of the barn. And she is a real Barbie. I believe she's based after like a real Tour Guide Barbie that you could like purchase. So we are using a couple of examples from the movie, and then also an example that I had found of a real Barbie that looked to be wearing something kind of similar. And we'll do a few Barbies. I actually think that we'll do 1 or 2 in Del Sol Valley. We'll have like the main one that is the one from Toy Story 2. And we might do a few more as like various roles and various outfits. They'll all be like this same exact character model, maybe with slight variations and obviously with different hair and different clothing. But if you were to stand them all up and put them right next to one another, they're all going to be basically the same exact character. I think it's so funny that you could potentially see them running all over the place and get them sort of confused other than their general clothing and what they're doing for a job. I did have a really hard time with trying to pick a dress for Barbie here because we just didn't have anything that was so identical to what they were showing in the movie. In the movie, she wears like a blazer cutoff, so it kind of looks like a sweater, but it's also a button-up, and then she wears a matching skirt with a belt over the top of it. There's one dress from Jungle Adventure that comes really, really close, but the belt is so unprofessional looking, and her outfit is that she's supposed to be a tour guide. She's like very prim and proper, and she has this like very almost like political looking, or like, what would you call it, like business wear to her look, and that dress really didn't suit the businessy vibes. So then I was toying around with like piecing a couple of different things together, maybe doing a longer version of the dress, maybe just doing a vest and a skirt combo, and doing some of the unlockable outfits as well. There's one from the political career that you can unlock that's pretty similar, but it wasn't cut off at the shoulder. So again, I was just trying to find something that I felt like was a little closer, and I did settle on this dress. I believe this is from Eco Lifestyle. I could be wrong, but I love this dress. I've already used it in the save file once for the outfit that the staff wears at Chapter 3, the bookstore in Willow Creek, based after Beauty and the Beast. But that version is the pink one. So here we got to use the blue with some matching blue pumps and a perfect hat to match, and that is going to round them out. I really hope you guys like them. I so enjoyed this video. This was such a fun one to do for me personally, so let me know what you thought of them in the comment section down below. If you would like to support the Disney Save on Patreon, you can do so by hitting the link in my description box down below, or the link at the end of the video. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Hit that little bell icon below to turn on post notifications so you can get updated every single time I post, and I will talk to you all in the next one.